Now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome Peter Field, godfather of advertising effectiveness, to the stage to speak tonight.
Charlie, thanks very much for the intro. I thought I should probably dress gangster, but in the end of the day, I just couldn't get the gear in the plane. So I'm afraid I'm just dressed as boring old sensible Peter Field. Now, look, I am really flattered to be here tonight. Genuinely flattered. I wasn't expecting to be invited to come and speak to you all. I'm totally delighted to be here. Obviously delighted to be in Australia, as anyone is, but that's got nothing to do with the Effies or effectiveness. I intend to have a very good holiday when I'm finished here. But look, I'm really delighted to be here tonight for two, I think, really important reasons. And I over the last couple of days, as James has said, I've had a rather busy speaking series of occasions, and I've no doubt offended a lot of people and said a lot of things that a lot of people didn't like to hear. So I'll try and do a little bit less of that tonight. But I just want to explain the two reasons why I'm particularly delighted to be here tonight. The first is that I've been a fan of Australian advertising for a very long time, and I should explain why. I think at its best, Australian advertising has a ballsiness, should we say a chutzpah, that is very difficult to find back home where I come from. And when I say ballsiness, I mean both a strategic and a creative ballsiness. It kind of goes for it. And I've seen that across many different categories, many different markets out here in Australia. But if there's one particular category that I really value, that ballsiness, and it's in financial services. I love what you've done in financial services. You try persuading a British bank to run the kind of brave, ballsy advertising that, say, the NAB or the ANZ have run out here in recent years. And I can tell you, I mean, I've tried many times. They get kind of a bit nervous, they get a bit giggly, and then they just go away and spend a ton of money on really boring anodyne advertising. Now, that is just not good enough for today. It's just not good enough. We live in a marketing and advertising world of total saturation coverage of advertising. We've got ever more new channels selling us advertising opportunities in advertising space. We've got consumers that are completely bombarded by advertising. And we've got a lot of very unwise advertisers and marketers out there who are essentially stalking consumers with endless retargeted messages. So the inevitable consequence of all of this is we've got a plague of ad blocking going on. And that is a shame on us all. We should never have allowed it to get that bad. And I blame it on the nerds. I blame it on those who are driven through pure numbers and digital thinking and have never stopped to think about human beings and consumers as human beings. And we've got to turn the tide on this. We've got to for the sake of advertising itself. Now, I've had a sneak preview of some of the case studies that are up for awards tonight, so I feel really confident that we've got some fantastic material to fight back against this. Because what the world of advertising and marketing needs now more than anything else is the kind of advertising that consumers will not want to block, will not want to avoid. That's what we desperately need. We've got some fantastic examples of Australian advertising at its most unignorable out there. Lovely examples. I certainly intend to quote them around the world when I leave Australia. I certainly intend to steal all the fantastic thinking that is in these case studies and pretend it was my own. I do that all the time. That's how I make a living. I sell your thinking and your ideas to people around the world. But I particularly hope that you will recognize those case studies when they are up here on the podium, and you will particularly applaud them. I will certainly commend them to you. So that's number one. That's my first reason for being particularly delighted to be here. But there's an even bigger one, which is that having had my sneak preview of the case studies out there, I've seen in them some fantastic evidence of the long-term value of brand building and of advertising that is designed for the long term and to build brands for the long term. There are some fantastic illustrations amongst these case studies of why long-term thinking matters. Now, I know this is a bit of an obsession of mine, and I know many of you in this room I've already bored to tears with my obsession on this, but there is a disease spreading through the world of advertising, and it's running out of control, and that disease is called short-termism. You know what I mean by that? It is that entirely deceptive and fallacious belief that living by the quarter, or worse even, living by the minute or the day is somehow good enough. It's somehow clever, it's somehow smart, and it'll get us where we want to be. It's rubbish. It's absolute nonsense. I know from all the data I look at, and I've bored many of you with this before, that the kinds of marketing initiatives, the kinds of marketing and the kinds of campaigns that emerge from that short-termist worldview are not the kinds of campaigns and initiatives that can successfully drive the year-on-year growth that businesses desperately need now. It just doesn't do it. And we're seeing endless diversion of budget into short-term sales promotions, and in particular into digital sales activity, the likes of search engine optimization, pay-per-click, and so on. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when did search or pay-per-click ever build a brand? It doesn't build brands. If we want to build brands, we've got to get back to the business of engaging consumers with what we have to offer. We've got to add value. We've got to make them want our brands. Because profitable businesses are built on the basis of successful, profitable brands. And we've got to get back to doing that. Now, look, I'm not arguing for the abandonment of spend on these new digital short-term sales tools. They've added hugely to the value we can derive from our marketing and communications. But I'm arguing for balance. I'm arguing for balance here. A balance between what we do for the long term, by which I particularly mean creative brand building, the magic of ideas and associations. We need a balance between what we do for the long term and what we do in the short term to drive short-term sales. And in the ideal world, that would be integrated sales activation kind of stuff. But it's gone too far. The pendulum has swung too far. All the data I look at is suggesting that we are already spending far too much on short-term sales activation than we should be for the health of the brands and the businesses that we're trying to support here. We're in a runaway short-termist situation. We have got to pull that back. And when I hear endless comments from businesses around blue-chip marketing organizations around the world bemoaning the lack of growth they're able to drive and making the suggestion that somehow their business model has come a cropper, well, if you're going to put all your budget into short-term sales activation, of course your business model has come a cropper. You've got to get back to the business of investing in brands, as one or two very high-profile global marketers have now done. So I think we're going to see more of that. So I'm urging for a fight back here, a fight back against the endless diversion of money, of marketing money, into short-term sales tactics. Marketing is not about timely and relevant offers, to use that horrible expression that we hear so much in the digital world. Marketing is about making consumers want to buy our brands to such an extent that we actually don't have to discount them. We don't have to throw timely and relevant offers at consumers to make them want to buy our brands. They want to do it anyway because they love them. Now, as I said earlier, fortunately, we've got some brilliant examples of campaigns and case studies here tonight that I think really do that. And these are the ones I'm really going to nick and take with me on my world tour. They are fantastic examples. I hope that you will cherish them every bit as much as I do, and I hope that you will seek them out for the most enthusiastic applause this evening when they come up on the podium. But look, that's enough of a rant from me. Those of you who've heard me speak before must be getting fed up with my rants. But I just wanted to say to you all, have a really enjoyable evening, and to those of you who are here hoping to win, the very, very best of luck, particularly if you've got a fantastic brand building case study for the long term. Thank you very much.